everybody, it's Annabelle, the VTuber demon that wants to play for fun, and I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. So on today's adventures through Marvel Snap, we are taking a look at the newest character to come out in the spotlight, and that is the one, the only, the big, the bad, Arishem. So Arishem is the prime celestial who created the first sun to bring light to the universe, as well as all intergalactic laws. Millions of years ago, they created the Deviants in order to aid in celestial births. But when the creations went rogue, they created the race of Eternals using the World Forge with the purpose of ensuring the emergence took place and to combat the Deviants. However, this group grew attached to the Earth and worked to successfully avert the emergence. Arishem plants celestial seeds into many host planets across the universe, as every billion years new celestials must be born. Then they make fully sentient creatures using cosmic energy to try to make sure that these celestials emerge, as even though they are capable of comprehending the fundamental principles and can see the order of all of reality, this does not grant them the understanding of the future, and sometimes their plans go awry. Arishem holds an extreme level of understanding of all the laws and mechanics that apply in the whole universe, with an almost infinite knowledge in any scientific field. They know every language spoken in the universe. They also have the knowledge granted from billions of years of just being around. In order to help them communicate with the Eternals, they had a small golden spear implanted in each of their bodies, which is activated every time a conversation starts with them. Arishem is extremely dedicated to the role of the Celestials in the universe, and as a result, they hold little regard for lesser life forms, using them as a sacrifice, seeing life and death as a cycle, and the destruction of inhabitable planets as necessary. But they also have high regards for life forms, as they willingly create inhabitable worlds with sentient life in them, making them distant with an objective understanding and no bias or prejudice to any outcome. Arishem is an ancient being of almost unfathomable power and constitution beyond any human logic and understanding. Possessing almost infinite power, known for being a creator and a destroyer, they are capable of surviving in the vacuum of space completely unaided, as they do not need air, any food, or water, or even rest to survive. They are the one who used cosmic energy to create the building blocks of all of the life across the cosmos. Arishem is a being from the start of time that plants a powerful celestial seed into host planets across the universe that need lesser life forms to be used as a sacrifice to make for a successful emergence. This is represented in Marvel Snap by the fact that when the time starts for this match, there will now be more life forms that you can get to show up and more power that you can use due to this celestial being involved. So in Marvel Snap, this card is a 7 cost, 7 power with the description of start of the game. You will get +1 max energy, then you will shuffle 12 random cards into your deck. So that's 12 cards in addition to the 12 that you already had into your deck. Now, the way that I view this card as a star rating is a 1-star, and I'm going to explain why, because I really didn't want this to be a 1-star, but I had to go with what my research and everything did for me on this one. I'm sorry. Now, even though it's a 1-star, there's going to be a huge asterisk at the end, okay? So let's look at some of the problems that you have with Arishem. First of all, you gotta look at a card like Darkhawk. Darkhawk exists. Arishem is going to have a problem playing against Darkhawk. If you play Darkhawk, you are basically going to win against an Arishem deck. And also, in about a week-ish, we're going to start looking at Cassandra Nova coming up. And part of the reason that Darkhawk wins games, even not against Arishem, is by throwing junk in your opponent's deck, by throwing rocks in your opponent's deck, by putting stuff in your opponent's deck. And the main thing that will make you win a game or lose a game is consistency. And the one thing that Arishem doesn't have, no matter what you say, is consistency. A consistent deck wins. That's what makes winners win in Marvel Snap, is having a deck that consistently gets cubes, that consistently gets points. Another card that we gotta talk about in here is stuff like Bast. You don't get a right to choose what you draw. You don't get a right to choose what the other 12 cards are. You get 12 random cards. So let's just say, for example, that one of the cards you get in your opening hand is Bast. Now it's turn 1, you have 2 energy because you didn't put any 1s into your hand, and you want to play your Bast if the stuff in your hand is going to go down in power. If you had a 5 or a 6, I mean, you have the same problem with a card like M'Baku. This is kind of one of the cards that you might even sneak into an actual Arishem deck, because the odds that you get M'Baku are slim to none, and then he can just pop out at the end. But again, you also have cards like the Watcher. If anybody plays Black Widow against you, you're going to most likely have a hard time getting ahead because you have really no way of getting extra draw in here. Your consistency even goes back down further. And the thing is, most people kind of look at this card and like, oh, I'll throw Loki in it. But even if you throw Loki into this, okay, you've got to find the Loki. Loki might not show up at all. And even if you get him, what happens if you get Loki on 5? If you get Loki on 6? You know, you're not guaranteed to get this. Even let's say you get Loki on 3, okay? Why not just play something in your deck that's going to be more consistent, like play just a Psylocke in your deck, get Loki out early, and be done with it? Now, here's one of the big caveats, okay? The way you kind of got to view this card is a little bit like High Evolutionary. If Second Dinner still had permanent 6s, if they had gone the route that they had and had permanent big bads, I think Arishem would go in the big bad category. If they ever bring back the big bad category, I would say that Arishem goes in the big bad category. So, even though it's not the greatest card ever, because of the problems with its consistency, if you are a newer player, if you don't have a ton of cards, if you only have a few Series 3s, few Series 4s, few Series 5, this card is probably one of the greatest cards for you. This is almost a get it and make a deck card, because this card on its own makes a deck. You could literally just have the 12 cards that you started with in the game, remove one, put an Arishem, and there's a good chance that if you know what you're doing, if you practice, if you get lucky, if you play right, you can go and you can get an infinite rank with that. You can go and you can win a tournament with that. If there are tournaments in the future, this might be one of the cards that ends up on the ban list for a tournament just because of how crazy it is. But the problem is, once you get further on in your matches, you further on in your collection, you have way too consistent of things happening on here. Let's even say that you get somebody good like Iron Man, okay? Let's just go out on a limb and say that you get somebody good like Iron Man. Iron Man is known as being one of the greatest cards in Marvel Snap for an easy to throw down, easy to use card, okay? You get this on 4. If you don't have anything for 1, 2, and 3, that didn't help you out. If you get this on 5, having the 1 extra energy didn't really mean anything to you. That's the problem. You get Iron Man on 5. What are you going to do? Not play Iron Man on 5 because he's better off? He's not better off because what are you going to do? Play him on 6? That's the thing. If Marvel Snap was a 40 card game, a 50 card game, a 60 card game, Arishem would be an interesting card. It's a 12 card game, and even without it being a 12 card game, it's a 6 turn game. You only have 6 turns to make something happen. If you get Iron Man on 5, even though it costs you have 6 energy at that point, you still have to play the Iron Man. You have to play the cards that are given to you. That's the problem. Even in other games like Magic the Gathering, where they have a minimum of a 40 card deck, but they don't have a maximum, the top players play with exactly 40 cards, not 41, not 42, because they know that the consistency matters. If I had the option in Marvel Snap to play with a 6 card deck, a 7 card deck, I would. I'd go and make that every single day of the week. And if you are somebody who wouldn't make that deck if they were allowed to, I want to play you. I'll play with my 6 card deck, you play with your 12 card deck, and we see who wins more often. That's the problem. Even when you're looking at something like, say, Sarah, okay? And you're trying to get the cheat out. You get Sarah on 4 on the best of days. And then you have an 2 extra energy, so that means on turn 5 you have 7 energy? How did that help you? You can get down more cards, but you don't have any draw. You don't have any of the good stuff that would be in here. Like again, Nimrod's not the worst card in the world, okay? But if you get Nimrod, you have no way of destroying him. How are you going to destroy this card? You have none of the synergy. If you get Brood, you don't have the Silver Surfer. If you get even Darkhawk, you might not have the Mystique to double up on it. One of the cards that's been talked about a lot in here is Blob. I get why one of the cards talks in here about is Blob. If you get Blob in your opening hand, that's great. But again, unless you're doing something weird, you're playing this on 5. You're going to make the Blob go up to 15 at the very least. Maybe let's even say 20. Let's on a good day say that Blob gets 22 somehow. Okay, so now you've got a 622. What are you going to do with it on the next turn? Yes, you played an Infinite on a turn early without having to play the actual Infinite. But how is that going to win you the 2 lane? It's winning you 1 lane. Yes, big stats go good. I get that. But how are you winning the 2nd lane? What you have to put like a Taskmaster in there. And then if you're drawing Blob and you're drawing Taskmaster, you're literally just hoping that Celestial doesn't draw you anything bad, and then you're just trying to use it as a better version of an Electro that has very little downside to it. There's a part of me that wants to see Thanos in a deck like this, okay? But that's the thing. Unless I'm mistaken, you can still get Thanos with this. Now, he won't put the stones in your hand because it's at the start of the game, because he never won. But then you have a 6/10 who's doing nothing for you. And there's a lot of cards that are like this. These big, bad everything known about cards, like your Thanoses, like your Knolls, like your Living Tribunals, are known as big bad cards, but without any support to them, how do you play them? Why would you play them? And as just a general thing, let me just take myself off the screen for a second here. Oh. 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 There we go, okay. If this was the actual 12 cards that you got, imagine this being the 12 extra cards that you got in your deck. What are you doing with this as a whole? And this is something you can get. And unless I'm mistaken, I haven't done all the research on this, so take this with a grain of salt. It is possible for you to get 2 Ironmans from Arishem. It's possible for you to get the 3 Ironmans from Iron Man. You can get Quicksilver from Iron Man. If you get Quicksilver from Iron Man, from Arishem, I should say, what are you doing with that? You already know that's a bad card. So that's the problem with Arishem as a whole. It's not consistent. Any consistent deck will beat this time and time again. If you had 10 matches, a consistently good, easy deck, a simple Red Skull, Shuri, Taskmaster, with a Sauron on this, will beat an Arishem, I'm going to say 7 out of the 10 times, on average. Here you go, 10 games back to back. The problem is that the 3 times that the Arishem wins, they're going to win by such a fantastic way that you're going to sit there and go, man, this card is powerful. And where it's sitting right now, I'm not sure there's a way to balance it to a certain degree. I mean, you can take a few cards out of how many cards it puts into, but that doesn't really even matter. If it only even gave you 6 cards as a downside, which would be half the size, you're still not doing great, because there's a possibility that those 6 cards are going to be the 6 cards that you draw. You start off with 4, and then you get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. So, it is possible that you can end up getting none of the cards that you put in your deck, and that's the problem. +2 energy would make this too broken. Everyone would play just for the +2 energy, regardless of what they got. And its cost and its power basically mean nothing. It could be a 27/27 for all anybody's concerned. Nobody's playing Arishem. If you play Arishem hard cast and you don't get off something weird, I don't know what you're doing, but I'd like to play you, because that's a dead turn. Right. Other than that, we have 2 cards that are coming out this week. First up is Black Swan. Is Black Swan just a hard card to live with? You would think that a 3/5 that lets every one cost 0 next turn would be valuable, and it's just not. If you go through the ones, even to this day, there's just not enough ones that matter. Seriously, one of these days, take your time and make a deck that has only ones in it, nothing but ones in it, and by the time you get to your 5th, maybe 6th one-cost card, you sit there and go, I have no idea what to put in this deck. And when that happens, you're going to play a Black Swan to have this happen? There was a rumor back in the day that this was originally supposed to add an Infinity Stone to your hand. And if this did add an Infinity Stone to your hand, that'd be great. This almost seems like it needs to do something like that. And that feels weird that a 3/5 needs to add a one-cost card to your hand and have that cost 0 next turn for it to have any value. The problem with one cost is they are just not valuable, and they should be the most valuable cards in the game. Getting 3 points of power for 1 is great. If you're to do that correctly for a 3-drop card, That means a 3-drop card will be getting 9 points worth of power. No 3-drop's ever going to give you 9 points worth of power. But board space is at a premium. The other card in here is Hercules. Hercules recently had a change on him. He's now a 3/4. The first time another card moves here, each turn move it to another location. Problem with Hercules, even as a 3-drop, the move is random. It can go right, it can go left. It can just not go the location that Hercules is in. The other problem is that you still need a generator for that card. You need something to move the card into the Hercules for it to move out again. It's not a card that moves stuff out. It's not a card that moves stuff in. The third problem is you have your opponent to worry about. If your opponent somehow moves something into here before you do, and you were counting on that move to get you points, Hercules is going to mess that up. It's not friendly. It's not unfriendly. If it was one or the other, it'd actually almost be a more interesting card. If it was friendly, you could protect you're not worried about your opponent. If it was unfriendly, you could almost use it as a guardian for some cards. It's kind of a Stegron that your opponent just has to worry about if they remove stuff into that. So this card still is not worth getting. Now, or when it comes to Arishem, I will say this. If you are low on the collection level, get Arishem. If you have the 4 keys, go blow your 4 keys, go get Arishem. If you want to have fun, if you want to have a silly deck, if you want to have a fun deck, go get Arishem if you have the 4 keys. If you truly want to be competitive in Marvel Snap, if you're truly trying to get that grind set, that mindset, that win set, Arishem is going to be a hard card to win with reliably. The other 2 cards in here are not worth really getting, so if Arishem's the only card you are looking for, and you have 6,000 tokens, I might skip the Spotlight Cache and spend the 6,000 tokens. If you don't have the 6,000 tokens, when you have the 4 keys, go blow keys on it if you want to. But don't be surprised when you get the Black Swan or the Hercules, okay? I will be spending a key because I always do, because this is how I make content. So let's find out what's in the box. What's in the box? Let's all find what's in the box. Thanos. I don't think I've ever done one on Thanos. Okay, we will be doing Thanos this week, believe it or not. After I double checked that I've never done one on Thanos, if I haven't, this week we're doing Thanos. So if you on Friday you want to watch me do Thanos, I will be doing it. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.